Did you know that God chose you even before you were born? There are signs from your childhood that clearly show this, but maybe you've never noticed. Today, I'm going to help you see something that could change how you view your life and your purpose. The signs were there. You just needed to look back. Hi, dear brothers and sisters. I'm Sister Amelia, and my purpose is to guide you to see God's hand in the details of your life. Today's theme is special. How, since your childhood, God has been preparing and choosing you for something much greater. You are not a product of chance, but part of an extraordinary divine plan. From a young age, you could tell you were different. Maybe you couldn't explain it, but there was a special sensitivity in you. Something that made you see the world in a unique way. While other kids were caught up in games or everyday worries, you found yourself thinking about bigger things, reflecting on life, or deeply feeling the pain and joy around you. This sensitivity wasn't just your nature. It was a reflection of God's touch in your life, preparing your heart for the purpose He had for you. Can you remember a moment from your childhood when you felt this? Write about it in the comments so we can share these experiences. Were there moments when you were moved by things others didn't notice? Maybe it was a song, a story, or even the look in someone's eyes as they suffered. That wasn't random. It was a sign that God had placed in you a moldable heart, ready to be used as an instrument of love and compassion. This sensitivity may have made you feel different or even out of place, but know that it was exactly what distinguished you as one of the chosen. Can you recall a significant moment like that? Share it. I'd love to hear. Another sign that many chosen ones notice early on is an inexplicable connection to spirituality. Even without fully understanding, you may have felt drawn to faith, prayer, and God. Do you remember how magical it was to hear Bible stories or the words of wisdom from older people? Maybe you were the one who felt an indescribable peace when entering a church. That was God whispering into your spirit, planting the seeds of faith within you. How many times have you felt this and couldn't explain it? Let's talk about it in the comments. Some children, even without much guidance, start seeking God on their own. Have you ever found yourself praying alone, talking to God as if He were an invisible friend? That kind of connection is a clear sign that the Holy Spirit already dwelled in you. It's as if, from an early age, God was shaping your soul for something extraordinary. Remember, this is no coincidence. If you've experienced moments like this, share them below when you felt God so close as a child. Another evidence that you were chosen early on is how people around you notice something special in you. They might not have been able to explain it, but said things like, "This child is different," or "This child has something special." Do you remember hearing something like that? Often, others see the signs before we do. This mark of God is visible to those who pay attention. And what about moments of divine protection? How many times have you been in situations that could have ended badly, but somehow you were spared? Maybe you escaped an accident, a serious illness, or tough circumstances at home or school. Those moments weren't just luck. It was God watching over you, knowing you had a purpose to fulfill. Can you recall an experience where you felt this protection? Share it with me in the comments. Have you ever felt like you had a guardian angel by your side? Since childhood, many chosen ones sense a greater force protecting them, even when things seem out of control. That presence isn't just a feeling, it's real. God sends His angels to care for those He has chosen. Isn't it wonderful to know you've never been alone? Tell me about your experience in the comments. I'd love to hear it. Another clear sign is that inexplicable desire to do good, even when it would have been easier to ignore. Were you the one who stood up for a classmate at school or felt the need to help someone sad or in need? This urge to love, care, and help others isn't something everyone feels. It's a reflection of God's heart in you. If you've experienced situations like this, share them. It'll be inspiring. Do you remember feeling outraged by injustice? Maybe you were the child who couldn't accept when something wrong happened, even if it didn't directly affect you. That righteous indignation is a reflection of God's justice being cultivated in you from a young age. Don't ignore it. It's a powerful mark of who you were called to be. Share your experience with moments like this in the comments. Looking back, you can see your childhood was full of moments where God showed you that you were special. Did you know that these signs are often overlooked or dismissed as coincidences? But they're undeniable evidence of God's calling on your life. Now that you know this, share this video with someone who needs to recognize the signs God has placed in their own journey. Let's spread this message and inspire more lives. Have you ever noticed how some things just didn't happen to you the same way they did to others? Maybe opportunities appeared out of nowhere, doors opened unexpectedly, or, on the contrary, you were spared from something that seemed inevitable. These events weren't just luck or coincidence. They were part of God's plan to protect and prepare you. He chose you for a greater purpose, and every detail of your life is being carefully guided. Can you remember a moment like that? Share it in the comments. Your testimony could touch lives. Another fascinating point is how, even as a child, you may have had a heightened sensitivity to see beyond the obvious. Maybe you could sense when someone around you was sad, even if they didn't say anything. Or perhaps you had dreams or intuitions that later turned out to be important. This kind of spiritual sensitivity is one of the marks of God's chosen. He speaks to us in subtle ways, preparing us to be instruments of His will. Have you ever had these perceptions? Tell us. Your story might be more common than you think. And what about the way you approached love? From a young age, you might have felt a deeper need to love, forgive, and embrace, even when it wasn't reciprocated. How many times were you the one to take the first step toward making peace, even when it wasn't your fault? Or the one who sacrificed to see others happy? This desire to love unconditionally is a clear sign that God's love already dwelled in you. It's not something you're taught. It's deeply rooted in the hearts of the chosen. Have you ever felt that even in tough times, there was something inside you telling you not to give up? Perhaps it was an inexplicable strength, a certainty that things would get better, even when everything seemed lost. That resilience is another sign that God chose and equipped you. He never abandons those He calls, and that inner strength is proof that He's always by your side. Have you felt this before? Write about it in the comments. Your words could bring hope to someone in need. Many chosen ones also have a story of overcoming challenges from a young age. Maybe your childhood wasn't easy. Perhaps you faced difficulties that could have broken you, but something inside you always kept you standing. That something is God's presence, never leaving you alone. He knew you needed to face certain challenges to be shaped and strengthened for the mission He has for you. Can you identify moments where you were strengthened this way? Share your experience. It could be a powerful testimony. Another important sign is the way you viewed the world with curiosity and wonder. Even amid difficulties, you could see beauty in simple things like the sky, a flower, or someone's smile. This pure and grateful perspective reflects God's presence in your life, teaching you to value what truly matters. How many times have you felt this and maybe didn't realize it was God touching your heart? Now is the time to recognize and give thanks. You might have also noticed that from a young age, people trusted you, sought your advice, or simply felt good in your presence. This is another sign that God chose you to be a light in the lives of others. He places in you a special energy, something that attracts and comforts those around you. Have people ever told you your presence makes a difference? Remember, this is both a gift and a calling. Talk about it in the comments. We can't forget courage. Even in moments of fear or uncertainty, you might have been the one to rise and face what seemed impossible. This courage doesn't come from you alone. It comes from God, who strengthens and equips you to fulfill the purpose He has for you. It's one of the greatest signs that you've been chosen, because God doesn't call the equipped. He equips the called. Have you experienced this divine strength? Share it with us. Your story might inspire someone. Finally, there's the sense of purpose that's always been inside you, even if only subconsciously. Since childhood, you might have felt there was something greater for you to do, something you couldn't define yet but knew was special. That sense of purpose is God's call echoing in your soul, reminding you that you were born for something extraordinary. Now that you recognize this, don't ignore these signs anymore. Embrace the purpose God has placed in your life and start living it fully. If you've identified with any of these signs, know that this is no coincidence. God has always been by your side, shaping you for a purpose. But now it's your time to say, "Yes, Lord, I'm ready." If this video touched your heart, like it, share it with someone who needs to hear this message, and subscribe to the channel. Together, let's spread God's truth and love to more people. Until the next video, and may God bless your life.